What's going on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all platforms? Welcome to another episode of Talk Your Talk. I got my main man in the building, Unpopular Opinion Sports NYG22, and our special guest, Miss Really Flawed, Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Say hi to the people, Miss Really Flawed.
Hi, everyone. I'm happy to be here. My name is Really Flawed. And all my football takes are really flawed. No, I'm just kidding. I am super excited to be here and just to talk. I like to talk and I like to rant. So this is perfect for me.
All right. So you heard the lady. We ready to get into it. Intro finna hit. And then we're going to talk our talk with Miss Really Flawed. Let's get it.
Rising Kev, Raisin Man.
Miss Really Flawed is in the building. Pittsburgh Steeler herself, Miss Really Flawed, man. We're going to start off. First subject you said that you want to talk about was Mr. Shedeur Sanders.
Yes.
Very hot in the streets right now, man. Let us know what you think about the whole Shedeur Sanders saga.
So Shedeur Sanders is who we all hope our children, friends, and everybody grows up to be. And the thing I think people get wrong with Shedeur Sanders is they think about all of his negative qualities and never talk about his positive qualities and never talk about what he brings to the table and never talks about the fact that who wants a quarterback that is not confident? Who wants a quarterback that is going to hang their head on the field? Who wants a quarterback that's not going to pick up their teammates? Who wants a quarterback that is not like Shedeur Sanders? We want them to be confident. We want them to be able to forget that they just threw a pick six. We want them to forget that their offensive line might be having a bad day. We want them to forget that our organizations might not have been the most successful in the past. And he does all of that. I don't understand how football fans are so mad or so negative on Shedeur Sanders. Now, I understand how the outside media is because that's their job. I understand the clickbait, I understand that. But as a fan of sports, no fan of sports has ever said they want somebody that seems less confident. No one ever says that. No one ever says they want somebody that's quiet. Nobody ever says that. You want somebody that's going to go out there, that's confident, that can prove themselves and all those things. And I think he's going to do that. And I think the more he talks, it's better for any team he goes to because he realizes he's setting the bar for himself. And so if I was a fan, I would say, keep talking, Shedeur. Because he's going to have to back it up. Why would you not want that player? I want that guy. I think the other thing about Shedeur, too, is he has come from a team with a bad offensive line. He has come from a place where winning wasn't normal, and he won games. He's come from a place where maybe he didn't have the best receivers. He's come from places where the defense might have not been very good. Like, he's done all the things, and he stood in the pocket and delivered passes. That's what you want from your quarterback. Like, I don't understand what the problem is. I actually don't get, again, from sports fans, I get the other crap, the social crap, the, oh my God, how dare him be so confident crap. I get that, but I don't understand from sports fans of historically bad organizations for the past 10 years, why do you not want that guy? Why not?
It really doesn't make any sense, man. Like, there's things that's been said about Shedeur Sanders. The craziest things I've heard is he has a bad work ethic. This is a kid that's been training with Tom Brady since he was 12 years old. And he's from the Tom Brady mold. And his daddy is Deion Sanders. So you think Deion Sanders is going to allow him to have a bad work ethic and put him out there on the field? Like, speak on that. What are you going to say to those people that say things like that?
And I'm going to shoot that at a different angle. Forget Deion Sanders. Do you think Tom Brady would embrace a guy that he didn't think had a good work ethic?
That's a
Do you
fact.
think Tom Brady would be speaking on behalf of Shedeur Sanders if he didn't think he was good enough? If he didn't think he could uphold those standards? If he didn't think that he was a good person to say, hey, this guy is good? Tom Brady tweeted when, I think last year when Shedeur Sanders, I think it was Arizona State, one of the games when Shedeur like led the team back to victory, and they were like, what'd you do? And he just like, I just went into Brady mode. Brady tweeted at Shedeur Sanders. My whole point is, forget Deion Sanders, because a lot of people, they hear Deion Sanders and they get triggered because of everything he represents. Cool. I'll do you one better. Let's use Tom Brady because everybody loves him, right? He's so great. He never lost it on the sidelines, right? He never like led his team. He was never confident, was he? He never made a ton of money. He never was on commercials. He was never modeling sweaters. He was never making a ton of off the field money. He was never doing any of that, right? But Tom Brady is saying, hey, I like Shedeur Sanders. This is my guy. This guy is tough. He is strong. He is learning the game mentally. He's doing everything you want to see in a quarterback. He's learning how to become a quarterback. And the best part about him is he accepts feedback from Tom Brady. So you can't say on one end, Tom Brady is your GOAT, but on the other end say, well, yeah, but not Shedeur Sanders. Well, why not? So then Tom Brady's not your GOAT. So we got to figure out something here. So my whole thing is I'm going to say is Shedeur Sanders is going to be a rookie in the NFL. And we all know the NFL is brutal for rookies, even as far as Bo Nix took his team this year, and even as far as I cannot think Jalen Daniels took his team this year. They still had moments where they still struggled. My point in saying this is if you're a real football fan, you will know the quarterback has a job, yes, but so do the other players on the team. And the reason why I think Lamar Jackson lost in the playoffs is because Mark Andrews didn't pick him up. Is because that offensive coordinator didn't pick him up. Is because other guys didn't help raise him up. And so they lost that game because they depended solely on Lamar Jackson. Shedeur Sanders is going to make mistakes. He's not going to be perfect. He's not going to be all those things. But your GOAT is telling you he's a good player. So either trust your GOAT or he's not your GOAT. That's just so forget Deion Sanders. We'll just leave Deion Sanders where he's at. Let's focus this on Tom Brady. That changes the argument. Because go against Tom Brady. Let me hear you go against Tom Brady, actually. That's my new argument. Let me hear you go against Tom Brady.
Not going to be able to do it.
You can't.
You made some very good points right there, man. If you can root for Tom Brady as being as brash and as confident, dare I say, kind of arrogant going through his career, the only people that really humbled him was us, the New York Giants.
That's it.
And he lost to the Eagles with Nick Foles.
And he still talks trash though to Giants fans and to Eagles fans. That's what you want. So why is it okay for Tom Brady and it's not okay for Shedeur Sanders when Tom Brady is endorsing Shedeur Sanders? What are we missing? What am I missing?
That being said, I got one question for you, Ms. Flawed. What team, given everything you know about Shedeur, what team do you actually think is the best fit for him in the NFL?
The best fit, I think, for him, I don't think it's going to happen. There's two teams I think are the best fits. The first team I think is the Titans. I just don't feel like they're going to take him. And I honestly, again, it's not going to happen. The really good fit for Shedeur is going to be the Rams. I don't think they're going to make it happen. And I think it's because of the way. So I like him playing in the South, right? I like the chance. I like if he plays for the Titans, he gets to play in the South, plays the Jaguars, plays obviously at home, and then he gets to go to two domes. He gets to play the Colts in a dome, and then he'll get to play the Texans in a dome. I love that. I also like McVay with a young quarterback. I think he will be able to learn, and with Stafford there, I think it's going to give him time to develop. Those are perfect case scenarios. However, if he goes to the Giants, because I know you guys have the third pick, if he goes to the Giants, in a way, I think it's going to be good for him because it's going to thrust him into the spotlight. And I think he does well in the spotlight. And so I think what the Giants offer him, the other teams aren't offering that. And he gets to play, you know, we'll leave the Eagles where they're at for now. We'll just act like they don't exist. But he gets to play the Cowboys. He gets to play. I mean, I get it. I will say though, I was cheering for the Eagles. I'm like, but I get it. But everybody's not built like the Eagles is my point, right? So he'll get to play the Cowboys twice and he gets to play the Commanders twice. And I like that. I like that for him. And I know that the Giants, like last year, I thought you guys had a great defense. My Steelers played the Giants and we couldn't stop the run to save our lives. We now know that our team is not very good. We'll talk about that later. But if the Giants can get a run game, I think having Shedeur is really going to help that because he's accurate as hell. He's going to make the play. And then I know, obviously, the Giants, there's an offensive line issue. So assuming we can get Shedeur and fix the offensive line issue, the offensive line doesn't have to be great, but it needs to be better. So he could be successful there. So I can probably play Shedeur on a multitude of teams just because the spotlight's not going to bother him. I think the more spotlight, the better. And I think he's talented. And I'm going to say this, and I've been saying this on record, and everybody thinks I'm crazy. I think Shedeur Sanders is going to be a better quarterback when he's not with Deion Sanders. Not because of Deion Sanders, but because I think that's the type of guy. I think there's more to him. I don't think he's reached his peak. And I think when he gets around people that want to work with him, for him, he'll be he's going to be the franchise. I think we're going to see a better version of Shedeur. I believe that. I don't know if it's true, but I feel that. Because I like the way he's carrying himself. I like what he's saying. I like that he's being himself, but he's still maintaining his, I'm a quarterback. If you want to win, draft me. I like that. I want my guys to do that. Exactly. I like George Pickens. Like, do it. We need that. Every team needs that guy that's like, are you kidding me? I'm Shedeur Sanders. Are you kidding me? I'm George Pickens. Like, what do you want me to do? You want me to cry?
Right, exactly. Want him to doubt himself is ignorant. But I want to ask you one last question on this whole Shedeur Sanders segment, and I want you to tell me about how does this play into the bashing of Shedeur Sanders? Is it because of who his father is? Is that the reason why he's getting bashed so much? And do you think people are attacking the Aboriginal father, standing up for his Aboriginal son and putting him in the best position to win? Do you think that has a role to play when it comes to people bashing Shedeur Sanders?
I think it's deeper than that. Okay. I think the people that bash Shedeur almost bash him as a how dare you. It's almost like a reprimand. It's almost like you haven't done anything in the NFL. How dare you? How dare you? I always say this. When humans bash humans, it's because you're insecure. Shedeur doesn't bother me. I like his confidence. I don't see it as arrogance. I like his swag. I like his attitude. You know why? Because I kind of carry some of that. It doesn't bother me. I don't know anybody who carries that confidence and that vibrato that it bothers. Period. Full stop. So take that to mean what you want to mean. Like, if you are a little bit insecure and you're a little bit, I see why Shedeur bothers you, because he's holding up a mirror to you and you can't compete. And he's not worried about you. I don't think people like that in people. People don't like confident people unless you're confident. That's why confident people are surrounded by other confident people, because you have to be. So I think if I give, can I cuss on here? Yeah. I think if I give little dick energy if I give the little dick energy community power, yes, they're going to be like, oh, it's because of his dad. I think it's bigger than that. I don't think they're willing to admit it, but I think the issue with Shedeur Sanders, especially for men, is not they try to lessen it to be about his dad. I don't think it is. I think it's about them. No secure person is ever intimidated by a secure person. Never. Doesn't happen. That's not how we're wired as people.
Talk your shit.
Period.
Well,
so shout out to the LDE community. And if you feel offended, that means you're part of that community.
Yo, this episode has started off on fire. We got Miss Really Flawed in the building. She is not with the LDE energy.
What are we doing?
So step your game up, man. Hey, listen.
Period.
We're gonna go to a quick commercial break, man. We got Miss Really Flawed back. We don't know what the hell she's gonna talk about next, but we'll be right back after this commercial break. That is crazy.
I love that.
Right. We are in the next segment with Miss Really Flawed. She came out hard.
Let's see who else I
Hard
can
to
trigger.
LDE brothers. She don't like y'all. All right. So
Get your confidence up.
but this second segment, as we all know, if you checked out Miss Really Flaw's content right here on YouTube and on Twitter, she is a huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Miss Really Flawed. Talk your talk.
What the fuck? Oh my gosh, my Steelers. So I'm at a point, I cannot believe I'm about to say this publicly. I've been thinking it. I'm just going to let it out here because why not? I feel like the Steelers are in a weird predicament because everything about us organizationally, we got an F, right? Stadium or training facilities, food, all the stuff, F. Okay. We don't spend money. Okay. That's just who we are. We don't spend money on free agents. We don't make big moves. I think that we're just in a blah place. We're in a blah place where it's like, we're always going to win some games. We're always going to be relevant, but we're not really going to be relevant enough where you see us as a threat. That's kind of where we're at. Like, we're just playing on our history, and we're hoping that our history is going to catapult us into a Super Bowl. That's kind of how it's starting to feel. So I think it is time to do something irrational. It might be time to blow all of this up. It might be time to say, let's just blow it all up. For the next year or two, maybe give everybody 1-year deals. I don't know when TJ Watt's deal expires. If TJ Watt's deal, I think we should play it to TJ Watt's deal. If TJ Watt's deal expires in 2 years or expires in 1 year, I think it's just, this ain't it. This isn't it. Like, I'm going to say this and Steeler Nation's going to hate me for saying this. What can TJ Watt, what is his market value? Not saying you should trade him, but we've got to start the conversations, right? Because at some point, my opinion in football is this churns, right? We had the Patriots run. We had the Chiefs run. Sorry to say this. I think the Eagles might be about to be the next kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. If so, you have to look at the trends on how people are winning. And when you see how people are winning, you mimic that with your own flavor. That's what you're supposed to do. Well, the Steelers, the highest paid position that we have is our defensive line, where our defensive line is underperforming. So they're underperforming, underachieving, under everything. So why are we paying them all this money? What are we doing? Right? So I think we need to really be honest and evaluate ourselves right now. I really think we need to evaluate ourselves, because you cannot continue to give piss poor effort and expect an amazing result. You just can't do that. So we got to fix those facilities. F is unacceptable. I don't understand at what point an F became acceptable for the Pittsburgh Steelers ownership. Shame on them. That's unacceptable. Yeah. I don't know when it became acceptable to just be okay with being average. Shame on them. That's unacceptable. And it's time to make some changes. So what are the changes going to be? Ben retired, 5 years ago, 6 years ago? And if we're honest, the last 2-3 years of Ben, he wasn't very good. So technically it's been about 7 to 8 years and we've just not been very good. So, and by very good, I'm saying we've been very average. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And so my thing is this: if the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be okay with average, okay, let us know that. Let us know that. Let us know, the fan base. Send us a smoke signal, right? Let us know. If the goal is not to win Super Bowls anymore, let us know. And maybe they are letting us know, we're just not listening, right? Maybe that's what we're being told and we're not really paying attention. But I can't think of a Super Bowl move the Pittsburgh Steelers have made in 6 seasons. I can't name one Super Bowl winning move that I can say, oh my gosh, they're doing that because they're trying to get to the Super Bowl.
Hey, listen, we do this podcast here and something always happens. It's really flawed. We got some breaking news. It seems to say when a beautiful woman says she don't like LD energy, Mr. Rooney said, okay, you're a beautiful woman, we'll listen. The Seattle Seahawks have just traded DK Metcalf to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Ooh. Is that not funny? That I was just saying, that is hilarious.
Wow.
See, beautiful women get a lot of things on this earth.
My phone is probably going crazy. But wasn't I just saying, we haven't done anything that I feel like is a Super Bowl winning move. There's a move. Now I'm seeing, okay, we're going to invest in something. Because for years, I'm what are we investing in? What we got bootleg quarterbacks, and that's not disrespectful to Justin Fields or Russell Wilson. We just didn't have to pay them. But we did what you know what I'm saying? So now I'm okay, we're in the game. Okay. Fix that defense.
That's
but we're in
the question I wanted to ask you is about Russell and Justin Fields. Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. What is your preference that the Steelers do at the quarterback position? Now, given it's traded for DK Metcalf, he's going to want somebody to throw him the football. Who do you think, or who do you prefer they target for the quarterback position?
I prefer Justin Fields, mainly because of his age, and mainly because I feel like Justin Fields was on an incline, and then he got yanked. And I don't think Russell Wilson is going to be more than what he is. if that makes sense. And I think the league is evolving in the sense of we need mobility at quarterback. I'm not saying my quarterback has to go out and get me 100 yards a game, but there might be a 3rd and 3 where I need my quarterback to turn and run the ball up the field, or I need the defense to think my quarterback might turn and run the ball up the field. You don't get that with Wilson. You just don't get that. So for play on the field and where I think the league is going, I would prefer Justin Fields.
Okay.
So you think Justin Fields thrown to George Pickens and DK Metcalf is the best option?
Okay.
For the Pittsburgh
So, and again,
Steelers?
and in all my Pittsburgh videos, I've said a couple of things. It doesn't matter who I want at quarterback. If Arthur Smith is not going to throw the ball down the field, it doesn't matter. If we're going to run a pitch play on 1st down to the right and then a pitch play to the left on 2nd down, and then everybody knows we're throwing on 3rd down, I could be playing quarterback. It wouldn't matter because everybody knows what we're going to do. So a part of this, right, is like I have this kind of pie, and I'm like 25% coaches, 25% players, 25% game plan, 25% ownership, because everybody has a role to play in this football thing. Right now, sometimes I feel like 75%, the owners, the coaches, and the game plan aren't helping the players, but the players are suffering. I think right now our balance is off in Pittsburgh. We're so unbalanced. We've got to fix that. We've got to fix our unbalance. So.
Yeah.
So about the I was gonna ask you one more question.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin. Mike T, there's always some talking. Well, whenever I talk to Pittsburgh fans, there's always talk about Mike Tomlin and whether he should stay or go, or is he still that Super Bowl winning head coach? Can he get the Pittsburgh Steelers back to the championship? What are your thoughts on the Steelers, and do you think the Mike Tomlin era has ran its course?
Oh my gosh. Yes and no. Like, again, the thing I love about football is that it's so dynamic. And I can find 7 things that I wish Mike Tomlin would do better. I also know that in those 7 things, ownership, GM, and players have something to do with it. So it's kind of like this thing where it's like, however, I made a video a week ago and I said, I think the Steelers have a bigger problem than Mike Tomlin. I don't think we're drafting correctly. I don't think we're building our team correctly. So do I want to, is that a Mike Tomlin problem? Maybe. But is that also like a GM problem? Is that also like a scouting problem? Is that also, yes. So that's why it's like, if you want to blame Tomlin, cool. But we still might have some of the same issues if we're not hitting on players. You know what I mean? So if somebody has to bite the bullet, I see why people are blaming Tomlin. But the truth of the matter is, if your team just is not talented, whose fault is that? That's the real question. Whose fault is it? Like, is it the GM's fault?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is it the GM's fault for even taking that guy? Is it the scouting department's team fault for even scouting that guy? Is it I don't know. So if you want to say Mike Tomlin, cool, okay, it's fine. But if you want to say we have a collective organizational problem, I will say absolutely. Let's dive into that. Like, let's see what's going on. I mean, I think DJ Metcalf might be the last greatest splash that we've made, maybe since like Minka Fitzpatrick.
Yep.
Maybe.
That's a fact.
Hell, didn't we get Chris Boswell from the Giants?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I'm all on Chris Boswell right now, okay? He's the best player we have on the team. He's the only guy that's performing.
Yeah, the kicker. I think he did come from the Giants. I think he was.
Yeah, but like, think about what I'm saying here. It's like, I can remember. So that's not good, and that's an organizational problem. If we want to do we want to blame Mike Tomlin for that?
I think Mike Tomlin is a very good coach, and he's kept you guys relevant for what you have been putting on the field. Like you said, you haven't made any relevant moves since Minka Fitzpatrick, and he's kept you guys relevant that whole time. Now, if you want to blame him for not getting you to Super Bowls, well, give him some of the pieces that he needs, and guess what? You spoken into existence. They went and got DK Metcalf while we're doing this actual show, which is crazy. But I think the Steelers will be good, and I think the Steelers will be back in the playoffs this year. Definitely, if you guys have a good draft class. And I definitely. So
I have a question though. Can you, before I appraise them, did they release his contract details? I need to know. Did we pay him or did we just get him for a draft pick? Like, because if we paid him, then I'm going to be impressed. If we gave up a draft pick, I'm still impressed, but I need us to actually pay him.
Yeah, I think that was part of the deal that he would have to be paid in order to be traded. So I do think you guys will be giving him a contract around the $30 million a year range. That's what he was asking for, and that's what he's going to get. Yeah, that's what he was asking for, and that's what he's going to get. So those contract details will be released here probably before we get done with this podcast.
Okay, well, before we end it, I'll ask you again, because if they just traded for him and gave up a draft, what draft pick did they give up? Third round, second round?
Probably a second or a third.
It's a 2005 second round pick.
2025 second round pick.
And it says he's signing a new 5-year and $150 million contract.
See, $30 million.
Tom Purcello reports.
Yep, $30 million.
The Steelers just signed a $30 million receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. They literally were like, "We hear you, now shut up."
That's basically what it was. Mr. Rooney, I know you be watching, Mr. Rooney. I know you be watching. But Miss Really Flawed spoken into existence. DK Metcalf is a Steeler. She is on fire with these segments. The first one, she's insults you. The second one, she gets what she wants. That's crazy.
I tell you, beautiful women get everything, man. We'll be back after commercial, man.
Giants organization that really put Daniel Jones in the forefront and carried him in that type of light, man, on national TV.
$223. The suspension also opens the door for the Texans to release Al-Shahir.
Then in 1976, guess who was hired? At T-Spans. This is where preference plays the biggest.
I'm gonna have to knock this down and get the oohs and ahs of Houston.
Welcome to the Aboriginal Sports Network.
All right, we are back. Man, y'all saw Big Uncle James there. Man, welcome to the Aboriginal Sports Network. Miss Really Flawed is in the building. Those first two segments were absolutely fire. So the next thing Miss Really Flawed wanted to talk about is her college teams. She's an avid Colorado Buffalo fan, and she goes ham for those doggone Texas Longhorns, man. So, tell us what you think about those two teams coming up in the college football season. And is there a playoff berth for either one of those teams coming up this season? Talk to us.
Well, it's kind of funny. So I feel like that each team is at a different kind of impasse. So Colorado, obviously, losing Shador, losing Travis Hunter, losing a lot of their backbone. So losing Shiloh Sanders, losing Cameron Silman Craig, losing like the guys that really came with Coach Prime whenever he originally started with Colorado. For those 2 years, those foundation pieces are gone. And I think the biggest misconception is that a lot of people are just acting like it's just not a big deal. We'll just replace them. Oh, we have somebody else. We'll just plug in the new guy and they'll be just as good. You don't replace Travis Hunter. You absolutely don't replace Travis Hunter. I don't care what you say. You do not replace Travis Hunter. Quite frankly, you also don't replace a Shedeur Sanders, because if you could just replace them that easy, everybody would have one and there'd be a couple on the bench waiting to play. So I think, and then you can't just replace leadership. You don't just wake up and say, oh, guys that have been with this coach for 3 years and 4 years, it's no problem. They're gone. We're ready for the next. Like, that's not how any sport works. That's like saying, hey, I was married for 6 years. I'm just going to replace this person with a new person that I just met for 6 months. That doesn't even work. And so
not at all.
I think Colorado is going to be at an interesting place, because this is going to be Coach Prime's first time where he's coaching without his sons. And I've been on record as saying I don't like his recruiting practices. I think his recruiting practices actually hurt them bringing in talent, because he doesn't go do the home visits. He doesn't go watch these kids run track or go to the gyms or, just do those things that make these kids feel special. He just doesn't do it. And that's his prerogative. He can do what he wants to do. Doesn't mean I have to like it. So it's going to be interesting to see how that shows up this year, because had he recruited the way that I think he should have recruited a lot of those athletes, this would be year 2, year 3 with some of them. But you don't get them, right? You're going transfer portal, you're doing things different. And I'm a fan of people doing things different. I just don't know if it's going to work like we think it's going to work. I think he benefited from having Travis Hunter and Shedeur as anchors. Now those anchors are gone. So I'm very curious to see what this new phase is going to look like. So do I right now, today in March, do I think Colorado is going to go to the playoffs? No. Why do I think that? Because I've watched football long enough to realize that you don't just slide in players. First of all, Colorado's schedule this year, they're playing all the teams that were really good last year in the Big 12, and they're starting the season off with Georgia Tech, who historically has a really good offensive line, and their running back is still there, their quarterback is still there, that everybody watched them play 8 overtimes against Georgia. I'm not really sure if I don't believe yet, right? Like, anytime, just give me time. So that's where I'm at with Colorado. They lost a lot of impactful players, and I think that matters. Now, let's transition to my Texas Longhorns. I think the Texas Longhorns are going to have a similar issue, but a little bit different, in the sense that the Arch Manning is the quarterback. People are already like, tank for Arch. Here's the problem with Arch Manning. I don't think he's going to come out after year 1. His family has said as much, that they want him to stay in college at least 2 years as a starter. They want him to get a lot of starts under his belt before he goes to the NFL. And let's be honest, this kid he's not a kid, but he's making a ton of money for NIL right now. And his family is loaded. Why does he ever need to go to the NFL early if he doesn't want to? Having said that, it's going to be interesting to see how he performs in his first year being a starter. Texas opens up against Ohio State. And yes, Ohio State lost a lot of players. So did Texas, but it's going to be interesting to see this Arch Manning. Who is he? We don't know him. We know his family. We know Peyton. We know Eli. We know them. We don't know him. So I know everybody is going to it's Ohio State versus Texas. It's going to be this big thing. It's Arch Manning. I get it. We already want to pass the torch to him. We already want to make him the face of college football. I got it. I'm not there yet. I need to see it. Can he read defenses? What does he do in a pinch? What does he do on the road? All of Texas's toughest games this year are going to be on the road. We have Ohio State on the road. We have Florida on the road. We have Georgia on the road. We have Oklahoma State at a neutral playing field. It's one of our rivalry games. We have Texas A&M at home at the end of the season. But I just don't know who Arch is. So I just don't know. But the difference between Texas and Colorado is I know who our linebackers are. I know who our cornerbacks are. I know our team more, because a lot of the guys that are staying on defense were there last year. So it's I know them a little bit better than I know Colorado. So that's why I feel like they're in a different whatever. And Texas expectations are higher. They to not be in the college football playoffs for the University of Texas would be a wasteful season. period. Even if, God forbid, worst case scenario happens, I'm not going to say the word, but we all know what worst case scenario is in sports. If something were to happen, the next guy up should still be able to do what they're supposed to do, because that is how Texas has built their program. So they have to play the game. So I'm not on the Arch Manning load up bandwagon. He's amazing. He invented football. Like, he can run fast. Like, he can throw so far. Like, I'm not there yet. Like, I'm just not there yet. Now,
I got it.
When he proves me wrong, I'll be there. I'm just not there yet.
I had a question for you about Deion Sanders. You made an interesting point about him using the transfer portal a lot in college. Now, with that's kind of like trading free agency in the NFL, kind of like
kind of
in a sense.
And I think,
you know what I'm saying?
So here's go ahead.
No, you got it.
I think you're going to ask me, why do I have an issue with it?
No. What I was going to ask you is, given that that's his style, do you think he makes a leap to the NFL at some point? I know he flirted with the Cowboys job this offseason. So will you see Deion in the NFL, given the style that you said he's not a really good recruiter, or you didn't like his recruiting style, that he prefers the transfer portal more, and that kind of looks like, the NFL to me?
Yeah, I have a couple of ways I want to answer this question. I think the first, and I'm going to save the kind of the thing that's going to hit this fan base a little bit for last. I think the mistake that college coaches make is they think that the transfer portal is like free agency, because it's not. Because in free agency, every person so far that's hit free agency, we all know them because they're stars. We know almost every person that's made a splat, that's been like, well, I'm entering free agency, or we're releasing somebody. Anybody that watches the NFL knows the players because they're good. In college football, it's not the good players entering the transfer portal. It's the player behind the good player that was never going to make it. Now, they might turn out to be good. We don't know, but you hardly ever see a transfer portal full of starters. It's usually the next guy. Now, I'm not knocking the next guy, right? Sometimes the next guy is better than the first guy. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying I think the quality of talent isn't what we think it is. Is that... And then a lot of people will say, well, he gets all the people that are ranked first in the transfer portal. If you have 5 offensive linemen and you have 30 teams that have great offensive linemen, but none of those people enter the transfer portal, whoever enters is going to be first because the good guys didn't enter. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I think sometimes we think the transfer portal is one thing. Now, here's what I have to say about Coach Prime coaching the NFL. Brace yourselves. If a team like the Giants or the Browns get Shedeur Sanders, and then they get Shiloh Sanders, I believe that organization is setting up to fire that head coach and bring in Coach Prime.
Mm-hmm. Unpopular zone. Yeah, it's really flawed. I
think we have similar thought processes when it comes to serious subjects. I've been saying that for 2 years.
Oh, have you? It's like I'm starting to see the play a little bit, because why would you not? If those coaches are already on the hot seat, they're already a great markets plan. Can you imagine Coach Prime in New York? Excuse me? Like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
very smart woman.
And he gets to play against the Dallas Cowboys, the team he used to play. Like, the stories write themselves. And same with the Browns. Like, he gets to go to Cleveland and he gets to play against the Ravens. And my point in saying this is, I think that when you look at Coach Prime, he has set himself up to say, I'm only going to coach my sons. And so he's basically saying, if you ever think you have a choice or option with me, you better go get both of my kids. Let's start there. Before I'll talk to you, let's start right there. And if you do that, I am at least seeing that you see my vision. I respect it.
New York Giants fans. George Sanders will be at 3, and Shiloh Sanders will either be an undrafted free agent as a Giant or drafted in the 6th or 7th round. Why?
How many draft picks do you all have this draft?
I think we got 9.
Oh, okay. So y'all can get
9. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, y'all have and that's just it, right? And it's like, and like I always say in business is like the stock market. You play the long game, right? You're not looking for yes, you want the immediate impact, but you're really looking for the long game. So if I can win in the draft right now, and listen, if I get Shedeur Sanders and he takes my team to the playoffs, great. But if I get Shedeur Sanders and he's fantastic and this team sucks and the coach sucks, bring it instead.
It's
simple.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Hey, this interview has been fire so far. Miss Really Flawed, man. This has been a great interview. We're ready to go to our last commercial break, and Miss Really Flawed is going to tell you her final thoughts about everything she talked about today. I will say this one thing about Texas and Colorado. I think they're in the same situation. Colorado lost all their studs as far as LaJohntay Wester, Jimmy Horn, Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter. And Texas lost Isaiah Bond, Golden, the running back. I forgot the running back's name, number 23. That dude's fast as hell.
Blue.
Yeah, Blue. And you do get Arch Manning, but we're going to see what those two teams do going into the future. I think you're absolutely correct. We don't know what Arch Manning is Arch Manning is right now because you haven't seen him. He played a couple of games. He did well, but you don't know who that guy really is right now when it comes to him being under pressure, being the starting guy for a full season, especially with, I'm not going to say a lack of talent, but it's not the talent that you had last year. And you're playing in the SEC against teams like Georgia, Florida, Oklahoma. You got to play Oklahoma State in neutral. Texas A&M, who's no joke. So we're going to see exactly what these teams do coming up this season. But, man, Miss Really Flawed, last commercial break, and you're going to tell everybody your final thoughts about everything that happened today. Check out the Unpopular Zone on the Aboriginal Sports Network. We're going to be right back.
You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound. A dimension of sight. A dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into the Unpopular Zone.
Andrew Jones is a shell-shock quarterback. Ryan Dable, this is on you. You did not have this team prepared. Aaron Judge ejected for the first time in his career in the 7th inning. Cam Thomas needs to elevate his playmaking this year.
So they got to get there. They got to find a way to beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
All right, Miss Really Flawed. Tell them about your final thoughts on this whole podcast, man. It's been an honor to have you on here. Tell me your final thoughts, man. What's going on?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for inviting me. I appreciate just like making connections and collaborating and talking about the things that I love and other things. So that's amazing. The other thing I want to say is Shedeur Sanders is going to be fine. So if you have an issue with Shedeur Sanders, that's a you problem. He's going to be fine. He was going to be fine. I am old enough to remember that when young people are entering in the workforce, we don't bash them because we're insecure. We actually embrace them. So check yourself. Remember those things that you were taught when you were young and adhere to those things when you're looking at these athletes. So shout out to Shedeur Sanders. I think he's going to be fine wherever he goes. I'm super excited for him to do that. My Pittsburgh Steelers. Wow. Welcome to the table, Pittsburgh. Welcome to the NFL, Pittsburgh. Welcome to the start of trying to be better and trying to do better and trying to uplift your team. I am proud. I am a proud Pittsburgh fan. I will back off for maybe a week or two. I will respect what you all are doing. So thank you, Pittsburgh. And Work on those facilities. I really hope that they work on those facilities because that would be amazing. And then when it comes to Colorado, I think Colorado is going to be fine. I do think it's going to take them some time to be okay. And I also think that that is okay. I think too many times we assume that everybody in football is good, and they're not. It takes time. You have to develop, you have to grow, and you have to get there. And I think that Colorado is going to get there. I think it just might take them a little bit more time than we're used to. We're going to see the quarterbacks have incomplete passes, and we're all going to say, Shedeur Sanders would have completed that pass. Shedeur Sanders would have not done that. Travis Hunter would have caught that football. That's okay. That is okay. That is an okay place to be. I think Colorado's going to be fine. So there's that. And then with my lovely Texas Longhorns, listen, they're the University of Texas. They have the #1 recruiting class this year. They've had the top 5 recruiting classes for the last 3 years. If those guys aren't ready to go, shame on them and shame on those coaches. There's no excuse for them not to be ready to go, period. The expectations are high. They've earned the high expectations, and I trust Arch Manning. I just need to see what he's going to end up being. He doesn't have to be like Peyton. He doesn't have to be like Eli. He just has to be Arch, and he just has to do things for us to win games. And so those are my final thoughts. I want to say one other thing here. This might shock some people because I'm a Steelers fan. Shout out to Myles Garrett for saying, who gives a damn? I'm going to get this money. Shout out to him for that. Because I respect it. I respect it. That is the ultimate BDE. He said, I said what I said, and then they offered me $40 million a year, and I said absolutely. So shout out to Myles Garrett for being like, we might suck, but I'm going to get this money. Shout out to him for that. Right. Shout out to him. So I can't knock him. Shout out to him.
All right, man. This has been Miss Really Flawed on Talk Your Talk, episode 4. If you have learned anything about this episode, Miss Really Flawed gets what she wants. She wanted an impact player. She got an impact player. So this has been dope, Miss Really Flawed. I want you to stay on a couple of minutes after the show so we can wrap real quick. But man, NYG, you got anything to say before we get out of here?
Man, dope episode. Shout out to you, Miss Really Flawed, and shout out to you for putting a lot of what me and Pat were thinking about Shedeur, Deion, Colorado, and everything in perspective. You really did a great job today, and salute to you, man, and shout out to your channel too as well. Go subscribe to this lady.
Oh yeah.
And
shout out your channel and everything.
Yeah, and just I also want to say too, like a woman talking about sports, especially football, is so hard and so all the things. So shout out to you two and everybody else who always is supportive of me and is always encouraging and all the things. Like I think sometimes as women, we don't always show our appreciation, that we realize that this space isn't necessarily friendly to women. If you look at some of my comments, you will see people are like, why are you talking about football? Go cook something. And I'm like, I want to talk about football and I want to cook something. So like, shout out to you two for like being supportive of that and being encouraging of that. And to anybody who is supportive and encouraging that, I appreciate that. But my YouTube channel is Really Flawed. I changed it to Really Flawed Football, so I'm going to focus on football. But you're going to see over there is I talk about Texas, I talk about Colorado, I talk about Pittsburgh Steelers, I talk about them all the same, realizing that they all have different expectations just because of where they're at. But I give them all the business. I'm honest about every single one of them, and I don't fan out. I always say I'm a program woman. I'm not a person woman, right? So like, I don't care who the quarterback is. I'm cheering for the team. I'm not cheering for the player. And I think that keeps me honest and it keeps me balanced because my expectations don't change. And if Arch Manning has a terrible game, I will rip him just as much as I will rip Justin Fields, just as much as I will rip whoever is the quarterback that has a bad game. So that's what you're going to get if you watch any of my videos. It's just like me being honest and stating my opinion. And I want to say this before I end, because I spent a lot of time on this. Coming up, I don't know when this is going to release. I have a series coming out, it's a 10-part series, and it's breaking down the ways that I analyze football and the things that I learned about myself during the season covering my 3 teams. And so it was a super cool thing that I put together. And so like, if you're wanting to learn more about football, if you want to learn more about football in the shadows, like you think you know everything there is to know about football, and you don't want to admit you don't know something, you can watch my videos and you can learn. And then you can act like you know everything. So yeah, it's like just a cool series where it's like, I don't watch film. I'm not an X's and O's woman, but I watch everything else. And sometimes the everything else, like running the football and making sure you know how to clock manage, making sure, like things like that a lot of people don't often talk about. Those are the things I talk about in that series. So I'm super proud of myself for it. And so I just wanted to say it here because I think it'll be good for people to kind of learn more about the sport beyond this is how you beat zone coverage or whatever. Like, that's cool. But like, there's more to the game than that. So.
Man, appreciate you, Miss Really Flawed. Extremely talented woman here. And like I said, she gets what she wants. But I know you want more talk your talk, so be on the lookout for the next content creator right here with Big Pat Sports Talk on the Aboriginal Sports Network. Talk your talk, Miss Really Flawed. You were up the bat and you knocked it out the park. And to the next episode, you know what it is, man. Peace.
Bye.
Or just the Giants organization that really put Daniel Jones in the forefront and carried him in that type of light, man, on national TV.
$223. The suspension also opens the door for the Texans to release Al-Shahir.
Then in 1976, guess who was hired? Fans. This is where preference plays the biggest.
I'm gonna have to knock this down and get the oohs and ahs of Houston.
Welcome to the Aboriginal Sports Network.